See you. How's everything going?
Everything is going. It's been a day per usual, but I'm here and I appreciate you so much. I'm sure it's been a day for you. So
Girl,
we're making it.
I literally just got off with a client, a virtual. I was like, let me shift gears real quick and get this replay together.
Yes. Yes, I appreciate you. We was definitely pushing it today, but I'm happy to have this time.
No problem. So I'm really excited to have this conversation because, I thoroughly appreciate your expertise and I thoroughly appreciate all that you do
Mm.
for Black women specifically.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to have a conversation about self-love, shame, and relationships, and also dive
Mhm.
into the groups that you're getting ready to host or
Yeah.
have kicked off hosting as well. So can you let the people know a little bit who you
Yeah.
are?
Yeah, so again, I'm so happy to be here. Second time in just a few months. I'm Extriara Gates, LCSW. I am the owner and head therapist at Lavender Grove Psychotherapy. As I mentioned before, my work is with Black women, empowering them and making sure that they have really the love and care that they need to facilitate the change that they need to see in their life. And that's really what we're doing with these groups. So I'm super excited, super, super excited.
Yes, thank you so much, Extriere. All right, y'all. Hey, Tochi. Let's see who's in the building. Make sure that y'all
Good
drop
evening,
in.
everybody.
Make sure
Yeah.
y'all drop in where y'all coming in from, whether you're in Atlanta, Fort Lauderdale, whatever city you're in. I know we got a couple people from the Georgia area, but please make sure you're tapping in and also share this video with somebody else. As you already see, the theme is self-love, shame, and relationships. And you already know that like this month is Minority Mental Health Month, BIPOC Mental Health Month. So I'm excited to have this conversation because I know we're talking about it specifically with Black women, but it's good
Mhm.
to have a couple of things like necessary for also our Black men as well. So
Absolutely.
Extra, let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about the
Absolutely.
concept of self-love.
Yeah.
Right. So when we think about self-love, immediately we're thinking about how we treat ourselves, the importance
Yes.
of creating specific regimens or routines to help tend to
Mhm.
ourselves. Oftentimes we're thinking about like the concept of self-care. So it's more than just the manis and
Yeah.
pennies, but it's also doing that inner work. But when you're
Yeah.
working with clients, how do you get them to develop a
Mhm.
confident and unapologetic form of love for self?
Yeah, so that's an amazing question because I do think that people often hear self-love and they automatically equate it to self-care. We're talking about two different things, right? One comes before the other, but for me, self-love is about radical acceptance. And what that looks like is giving yourself grace. You know what I mean? I always tell my clients, like, you need to have a buffer area where you know this may not go well, but I'm gonna give myself grace to mess up. I may not do this perfectly. I may not set this boundary perfectly or execute it the way that I want to, but because I love myself and I accept that I'm human and naturally flawed, there's some grace that I'm going to give myself so that I can keep doing this work. It isn't about a fail. It's just a first attempt in learning. So that's where the self-love for me is. It's about the acceptance. You know what I mean? I know that every day I'm going to mess up something, but I start my day planning for that and knowing like, hey girl, it's okay. We might not get this right today, but let me love myself enough to know that it is okay. So really for me, it's the acceptance and the grace piece. We can get to self-care once we've gotten that done, you know?
Oh, you see, she done already came out the gate with the bars, y'all.
I'm
Okay.
trying. I'm trying.
Listen, okay, listen. So
Yeah.
immediately when you said that, I thought about something that I always tell my
Mhm.
clients is to lean into patience and grace. So patience for the
Yes.
journey, patience for their process, understanding
Yeah.
that this thing is to be enjoyed throughout the
Yes.
entire process rather than looking at peace or love as a destination. And then also when we're talking about grace, understanding that we are human, we are complex humans
Hmm.
with complex emotions. And it's okay
Absolutely.
to accept all of those aspects of ourselves, which helps
Yeah.
to combat shame. And we understand that there's a difference between shame and guilt for any of my newcomers on
Yeah.
here. So shame says that
Yeah.
I am bad, but guilt says that I've done something bad. And so when it comes to
Mhm.
challenging shame, what are some things that the people need to
Mhm.
know about shame and how to combat shame?
Yeah. Yeah. So amazing that you said that. I'm so happy that you broke down the difference because again, we operate with the understanding of one and thinking that the definition cross goes across two. For me, when I talk about shame with my clients, it's the idea that there's an expectation of how things should be and who we should be and how we're supposed to show up. And when we don't meet that expectation, it either paralyzes us or causes us to do something irrational.
Mhm.
That's how we work through shame, right? And so my start, my clients is, okay, I sense that you have some shame, but tell me what it's done to you. Has it stopped you from taking any steps to improve your plight, or has it caused you to do something irrational? That could, just for example, we joke about this a lot within our culture. When our parents couldn't afford to buy us something, they would say, well, do you have McDonald's money? Or close that refrigerator, you letting out the air, heat, cool. None of this made sense, right?
Yeah.
And instead of just saying to us, it's not in the budget, but we can do it next week. That shame has them make us feel bad about something that they cannot provide. And so what happens as adults, we don't ask for anything, but we don't necessarily attribute that to shame. So again, there's an expectation as a parent, you should be able to do all of these things. And when you can't, I'm irrational about it. Instead of telling you it's not in the budget, I'm going to make you feel bad for asking. You see where I'm going? And so part of that, again, is when we can acknowledge shame and like really have a real gangster conversation about it, there's grace and gratitude. You know what? I realize that I just can't do that. It's not in my wheelhouse right now. I'm sure there's an expectation, but whose expectation is it? Mine or yours? And if it doesn't fit where I am, that's okay. I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to express gratitude for the opportunity to get up and try. Either way, but shame can be really debilitating for people. And I think we see the more debilitating side of it, particularly in our culture and particularly with Black women. When we talk about debilitating, the depression, the anxiety, you know that this is not in your capacity, but the expectation is you're supposed to be strong. You got it. I do not, but shame won't allow you to admit that. So you're doing the most for no reason, right? You anxious when you could just tell somebody, I can't, I just cannot. It's not that I want to, I can't.
Yeah. I know a huge part of that, right, is communication. Not, and when I talk to people about communication, it's more than just what we say, but it's how we say it, who we say it to, and in what context. And it's difficult for us to be able to effectively communicate where we're at if we may not have the language for it, or we haven't taken the time to literally figure out, how am I feeling in this moment? How's this impacting not only me, but how is this impacting the way I see myself in relation to you, and how I view myself in relation to the role or the expectation that I have. So continuing on with like the concept of like parents and whatnot, if I openly tell you that I can't meet this particular expectation, then how does this change the way that you view me?
If it does at all.
Right.
And because I work, if it doesn't, think about it though. Most of the time for children, we really just need our parents to be present. We need to feel loved, and we need to know that they will be there. Safety and love, right? Very important. The other stuff those are incentives. But kids genuinely do not have the same level of expectation that we think that they have.
Right.
Think about kids who grow up with absolutely nothing, but their parents are super loving. They don't have any different of experience of a kid who has the access to resources, other than they were loved differently. And so their expectation is not to get everything or to go to McDonald's, but I was just happy my mom showed up for me today.
Yeah.
She hugged me before I went to bed and told me that she loved me. That's different.
Right. What I'm
But
hearing
again, unless we start having those conversations, we keep living out these expectations that are not, easy for us to manage. We just keep trying to show up.
Right. And what I'm hearing too is like self-love looks like getting rid of these unspoken pressures that we put on ourselves, these unrealistic pressures on ourselves.
Yeah, it looks like, there's a book, and I'll try to make this clean, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F.
Yeah.
We use that word a lot, we throw it around, but when you think about it, what I hear that person saying is that I've gotten to a point in my life where other people's expectations and thoughts about who I need to be doesn't matter to me. And so I operate from a space where I don't allow myself to be filled with shame because I can't live up to some expectation. I accept that I'm going to mess up. And that's what happens when you don't give a F. It's not about not caring about other people or having respect for other people. I'm just more consumed with the idea of me being okay with who I am.
Yeah.
So what you say matters, but not so much. It doesn't change who I am. I know that I'm going to mess up, and that's okay.
Right. And so being able to hear it and filter through the noise and not necessarily internalize it, so that it does not become my identity, or I don't root who I am based upon what you say.
Yeah, because that creates narrative.
Yeah.
And if I'm trying to live up to that, my narrative is always changing, which means my identity changes. But when I love me, I'm clear about what my narrative is, and anything outside of that does not matter to me. I've created my story because this is what I wanted it to look like.
Yeah. And how
That's
can you truly love a story that's ever changing? It's like
yeah.
you're trying to catch up to something that you don't necessarily have full
Yes.
grasp to. Like
Yeah.
Looney Tunes, right? The Road Runner and Wile E.
Oh gosh.
Coyote.
Yeah. Listen, you just and people who are not of a certain age will get it, but
Oh
I
no.
follow you. I got you. But yeah, it really is that. It's like you're trying to live out a story that you didn't write about you. How does that even work?
Right.
Because it's hard to tell what parts are true and what parts belong to you if somebody else becomes the author. So when we talk about self-love and moving past shame, I'm essentially saying to you, be the author of your own story.
Mhm.
You create the narrative and live it, whatever that might look like for you in this period in time in your life. It may change next year. The important thing is that you have control over that.
Definitely.
You start by just showing up for yourself, accepting that these things are just going to happen and I'm okay with that.
Hmm. Thank you so much for segueing into the third piece of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of relationships,
Yeah.
when I talk to clients about relationships, I talk about like
Mm-hmm.
the breakdown of relationships. So obviously you have
Mm-hmm.
stranger, acquaintance, associate, you have family,
Mm-hmm.
professional helpers, and then most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship with yourself. Oftentimes
Yeah.
you hear that whole concept of like, if you can't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? But we also have those
Mm-hmm.
significant relationships that model and teach us how to love ourselves, right? And so with your group that you have, you get these women together and
Yeah.
all have these shared experiences. And so they may feel like
Mm-hmm.
they're all in the same boat, but at least with group share, they have the
Yeah.
opportunity to want to recognize that they're not here by themselves, but they also
Yeah.
have an opportunity to learn from one another. And so can you
Absolutely.
talk about the importance of establishing healthy
Hmm.
relationship rather than trauma bonding?
Yeah. Okay. So now you're preaching, right? Because there is a difference, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us, and a lot of the focus of this particular part of the group is not just about being able to develop relationship. We need to be able to develop and maintain healthy,
Hmm.
operative verb, healthy relationships, right? Here's the thing, and we hear this all the time: broken people attract other broken people. So
Yeah.
you can be in a relationship, but if you have an anxious attachment and they are codependent, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So yes, you can be together. That looks cute. It looks good on paper, if that makes sense. But healthy looks like I want you to be here. There's something that we provide to one another. There's reciprocity, there's love, there's care. I feel like my needs are met, yours are too. We have boundaries. We respect each other. We communicate well. We hear one another. If those things are not happening in your relationship, you are just in relationships, but they're not healthy. And so the important part of being in this group setting, and I think for us, culturally as women, we love and support on one another. So to know that I am not the only one, because my shame will make me believe this is only happening to me.
Right.
I'm the only one with little toxic Tim, right? But I see that there are 5 other women in this space who've had the same experience, who've been able to move beyond it. So there's a level of support and care that you get that's not just from the facilitator, because in their eyes, I know everything, which is not true, by the way.
Right.
But if I can see my peer who has been in this same space move beyond that, that's what I need in that moment. So, in a group, the beautiful thing is that I'm not just there helping to facilitate change, the women around you are too.
Very much so. And that also gives some
Mhm.
level of like power and control, not even like
Yeah.
some level, but all levels. Like we understand that the work that we do, the goal is to empower change and not
Yes.
to necessarily enforce or maybe inflict some level of change. Like change is a choice. And so
Absolutely.
with them being able to sit in that group and gain a better understanding of not only themselves, but the people around them in relation to the
Mhm.
situation. And it also provides this new level of hope for the future, which is we already know
Yes.
with those life worth living goals, those quality of life related goals, which are so important,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
ultimately helps to build confidence and to reduce the impact of shame.
Yeah, yeah. Touche there. I feel like you wrapped up the sermon. No, but you are so right. And I just say to women, and I started off doing group work with young women,
Hmm.
and just seeing the impact and the connectedness that we feel. When I know that somebody next to me is going through the same thing, now I have you too. I have a frame of reference where somebody has gone through this and they made it on the other side. Now I can see what this might look like if I just lean in a little bit.
Hmm.
And for sure, we can always account for people will have different opinions in groups. There may be some healthy debate, and that is okay because we're all there to learn. And let's just say, as a facilitator, I learned too.
Hmm.
So this isn't just about the women there. It's for me too. Like, what do you have that I haven't experienced? Please talk to me about it. I want to know.
Yeah.
because that helps me to be better. The groups are comprised of women right now. We have 25 to about 40, and I purposely did that because I wanted to make sure we had women from all walks of life, because regardless of age, most of the time we're having the same experiences.
Yeah.
We just assume because you're 40, you already been through it. No, she probably going through it now, again, for the third time.
Yeah.
It happens, but we need to be able to see that.
Definitely. Yep. Like you mentioned, that radical acceptance and then that just
Mm-hmm.
open willingness, so to speak. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, Extriara, let's see if y'all
Yeah.
have any questions. Please drop them in the comment section
Please
below.
do.
But can you please let the people know how they can
Yeah,
tap into your groups, how they can register?
absolutely. Yeah, so the group is called the Ladies Room. It is up on Eventbrite. I will drop the link or share it with you, Sierra, so that it'll be posted. Registration will close on this Friday. However, if people need time to register no later than next Monday, I'm more than welcome. We're more than happy to have people register. They can email me and I can hold tickets for them. It is a 5-week series. When I tell you it's going to be great, it's going to be great. Registration includes a canvas bag, a personalized journal, a pen, the workbook that has all the activities that we'll be doing. So these are things that they can have and use in the future. There will be lunch, because I know we like to eat. There will be lunch at all of the sessions. And then our final session, and I guess I should give this away, will be a wellness day. There'll be yoga. Like, I don't want us to just, we got to work on it inside out.
Yeah.
So I feel like that day is kind of our full circle day where there's a lot of healing happening. And so again, it's 5 weeks on Saturdays. We'll start at 1 o'clock right downtown in College Park. I'm super excited. Again, if people want to drop in maybe after that first session, if they tell me that they saw this here, I'm more than happy to register them just because it's for you. And they can join us at any time, but it's going to be a fantastic time. I'm super excited. And the thought is to do it over the summer and then maybe start another group in the winter. So it's something that will be ongoing.
Cool, good stuff. And for anybody who has come in towards like the beginning of this live or later in this live, the replay will be available. It'll also be on YouTube and all the other platforms as well. So if you're hearing this, please make sure that you tap in. You already know the deadline would be up until this Friday. Might be pushing it till Monday, the 13th of July.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. Possibly.
And so please make sure that you are registering, or if you don't feel like you need it, please send it over to somebody else who may need it. So it's readily available and readily accessible. Plus, you have all the amazing gifts and knickknacks to come with it.
I'm going to give you something to take home and feed you. I mean, this is like a 2-for-1. Why not? It's like good church service, you know? You get a good sermon and go eat after. This is what that's giving.
Good stuff. All right. And so, y'all, please make sure that you're tapping in with all these Extriara Gates, okay? Lavender Psychotherapy Group. She's amazing. If you haven't checked out our previous conversation before, please head over to the Legacy Speaks podcast and just tap into all things that she's doing, because she's freaking amazing.
Thank you. You're amazing. I mean, amazing people hang around amazing people. So I have to thank you just for this platform. The work that you're doing, uplifting therapists of color, is amazing. And I sincerely appreciate you. I do.
No problem. You know, I'm just here to serve. All right, y'all. If y'all don't have any questions, please make sure that you're sliding into her DMs. You can also slide into my DMs. I'll just forward it over to her. And then we can also probably do some Q&A later on again.
Absolutely.
Because y'all know I like repeaters, so just feel free to come through at any time. All right. All right, so I know, like we said, we just wrapped up some clients, so please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Absolutely, you as well. And again, I appreciate you. Thank you all for joining. I will DM you the information in case people want to reach out to you, but they can follow me on Instagram, Lavender Grove Psychotherapy. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm always available. Thank you so much here. I appreciate you sincerely. I do.
No problem. All right, y'all.
Have a good night.
All right, y'all. Like I said, y'all can definitely tap in. Head over to the Legacy Speaks podcast for all things Legacy Speaks. Once again, for those who have never met me before, my name is Sierra Hillsman, licensed professional counselor and wellness coach. Please stay tuned for the next conversation that's going to take place. And if you haven't joined my email list, please head over to legacyspks.com. Also, the Legacy Speaks channel on YouTube. All right. See y'all soon. Bye.